Welcome to this segment of Assembling God's Puzzle. I've been doing a few of these now, and I've asked some of my friends what they thought about these presentations, these recordings. And like true friends, they told me what they thought with advice and suggestions, and of course that's what friends are for. So I appreciate that. And some said, well, it wouldn't hurt you to smile some more. So I'm smiling some more. You know how strange it is to smile at a computer, at a camera. It's just pretty strange. Uh, One of my other friends said, "Well, you should put out some cardboard cutout people in the room, so like they did in the sports stadiums during COVID, and pretend like you're talking to them." Well, I didn't do that. Others told me, "Well, you should wear something different, or you should raise the camera, or you should whatever." So I took all those to heart. Um, but I think one of the things that they were saying to me was that, there's something missing in the communication with you when I watch you on online, because my friends are used to me being in person and talking to them, and being in person, there's more to it. You watch somebody on TV and there's something missing. There's the smile or the personal interaction or whatever it is. Communication is very different in person rather than online. Which brings us to the topic of this segment, is communication. How often during the day do we communicate with someone? We do it all the time, in lots of different ways. And you would think that we human beings by this time would be pretty good at it. God has given us the language, have given us ways to communicate, and you'd think that we'd be pretty good at it, right, by this time. But we're not so good at it. Communication is hard, and it's challenging, and it's difficult. And how many times have we been misunderstood? How many times have we misunderstood what others have said? And those are pieces of the puzzle that we have to deal with. And maybe we can situate them in our lives a little bit better, if we did it a little bit differently. It's a puzzling challenge to get our message across and to hear the message that other people are giving us. My experience and what other people have taught me, there's two kind of main mistakes that we make that cause us problems in communication. And the first one is we guess. We guess what others are meaning rather than, doing whatever it takes to be clear on that. And if we guess right, well, that's great. If we guess wrong, well, it causes us problems. So it's kind of a crapshoot in a way. And so guessing is not really good in communication. The second thing that often happens that causes problems is that we say things, we try to communicate in our own language rather than in a language that the other person would understand. And that doesn't have to be different languages, it just has to be kind of different meanings that we would put trying to get across. So the first one, we guess the meaning of what others say. For example, what happens often, I've heard in counseling, is the woman, the wife, will come home and describe her day and maybe some difficulties she was having during the day. And her husband hears that, and what he hears is, he guesses, he assumes that she's wanting him to give some answers how to solve the problem that she encountered during the day. Whereas most of the time she is just kind of wanting someone to listen, wanting him to listen, not to give answers. But he hears it differently. He kind of guesses that she's wanting some help solving problems. He offers some answers, and she gets angry because that's not what she was looking for. And there you have the problem. So, guessing is not a good thing in communication, especially, it happens a lot after we've lived with someone for a long time. We think we know what they mean, and we still guess, but it can still cause us problems. We get better at guessing. We guess right most of the time, but it can still cause problems. All you need to do is just check it out with the other person. Nothing major, nothing complicated. Just to ask, well, is this what you're meaning? Is this what you're saying to me? And check it out so that we don't have to guess and guess wrong. Second mistake we often say is we make is we say it in a way we try to get our message across in ways that make sense to us, but doesn't necessarily make sense to the other person. We don't, for example, if someone only understands English, we wouldn't speak to them in German, right? We speak in a language that they would understand, and that gets our message across, and that works. But so often we kind of use our own language. It's kind of like the book by The Five Love Languages by Garry Chapman. He's kind of saying the same thing. How do you communicate love? Well, it works better to communicate it in a language that the other person understands. Now, I may understand it one way, but this other person doesn't. So I choose to say it a different way. That requires putting myself in their spot, in their shoes, to see how they might be hearing what I say. So that is important to do. That's hard because oftentimes we're caught up in our own wanting to get our message across, and we say it as clearly in our language as we can, but we're not tuned in to kind of how the other person hears things, what language they speak, what words they are using. I'm speaking to you and using some images and language and I'm guessing what you might understand by these words, these images, these whatever. But that's because you're not here for me to kind of check it out with. So I'm just guessing kind of what makes sense to you. And I'm using my experience of talking to a lot of people and my experience of what has made sense to them to kind of present now. So if you were here in person, I would be kind of checking out with you. Well, does this make sense? Does this image, this example, does that resonate with your experience? And I'd have a better chance of getting my message across to you. But that's what online stuff does. The recording, I can't do that. So I take my best guess. And I could guess wrong. You may not understand or hear this in your language you understand, or I might guess right. Well, that doesn't work in person and in close relationships. So we need to kind of check that out with each other, what each other is hearing. Now that's hard work. Communication is hard work. It's tedious. We have to, repeat things. We have to reflective listening. We have to be redundant in what we say. All of that is work, but it's, a lot of people will say, well, it's worth it to get our point across. Especially in this age of instant communication, texting, email, we just do that without even thinking about it. One point, do not have important conversations on email or on texting or on anything that's not in person. That I've seen have so many problems. You don't get the emotional impact of what someone is saying through a text. All kinds of miscommunication takes place, misunderstandings. So don't do that. If you need to have an important conversation, do it in person. Zoom is better than text, but still not great. Do it in person and do all these ways of communicating. You can avoid a lot of problems that way. So if you want to practice something that might help you in communicating, here's the thing. You choose a simple statement that someone could say to you, and you come up with 5 different possible meanings for that. Okay, without somebody telling you what the meanings are. For example, someone says to you, "I'm going to the store." Okay, what 5 different meanings could that mean? Well, one is it's simple information. I'm going to the store. Just want to let you know where I'm going. Another meaning could be, do you need anything? I'm telling you I'm going to the store, assuming that you might tell me you need something. And that might be my intention, but I don't say it. So that could be a meaning. Or I could, if that person might be saying to me, don't worry if you can't find me, because I'm going to be gone. So that might be a meaning that they're trying to get across to me. Another meaning they might be telling me is, I'm bored and I need to get out of the house. Okay, that could be true. Or another fifth meaning is, we have no food in the house, I'm hungry. Okay, that's another meaning. So there could be lots of different meanings to that simple statement, I'm going to the store. If it's important to be clear on what the meaning is, you might want to check it out with the person. Are you hungry? Do you just not want me to worry that I can't find you? What is it? Or if it's not that important, you don't have to check it out. So communication, really important. We deal with it every day. We can do some things that can kind of fit it in a way that works better for us. So I hope this has been helpful, and I hope it helps you be a little bit more clear on communication and avoid some of the pitfalls and the problems that come along with being human, using language, and trying to get our points across.